Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to all of you this day, special day of Yugadi. So first of all, wishing all our viewers a very happy Yugadi and Gudi Padwa. And here we are today, of course, from Bangalore, live streaming from Bangalore, and basically trying to address how parents can play a very crucial role in upbringing of a child, a special child diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So this theme has been mainly chosen for this Autism Awareness Day, and it becomes our primary, duty, and it is, the necessity also that we need to develop a lot of knowledge transformation, knowledge dissemination, which should not get restricted to us, but it should, kind of spread widespread. As a healthcare provider, as a doctor, I will have my own experiences to share. And, as a parent, all of you, I'm sure, will have a lot of experiences. And every parent's experience is going to play an extreme crucial role in the development of the child. So as I've been seeing children, I, kind of stamp on it and vouch for it that parent is very crucial in, the upliftment of the child, in the child's development as he or she progresses in the various phases of life. Yes, when a child is diagnosed with autism, there is a feeling of panic, but the parents do get over that. So, today I also have Mr. Manmohan Singh, who is the parent of a special kid, and I'm glad that he's here. And our intent to have him is basically because we want to understand the parent perspective. And definitely on this World Autism Day, we as healthcare professionals salute the parents, because their role is extremely crucial, as I said. So as we go ahead in the next 45 minutes, we have about 30 to 35 minutes dedicated to a conversational interaction where I will have some questions for Mr. Manmohan Singh, and also the other way around. And in the last 10 to 15 minutes, we'll also open to some question answers. We also have questions from the registrations, from the registrants rather, and we will also take it up. Probably many of your questions will be answered also, as we go ahead. So without any further delay, so I welcome all of you once again, and we are glad that we are here today to share our experiences. And of course, the learning continues. So we'll be very happy to also understand from any of you, because you can write to us and interact with us. Of course, may not be very easily today, but definitely any other time. So, Mr. Manmohan Singh, thank you for joining us. And from Vivekananda Health Global, we really appreciate your presence today.
Thank you, doctor, and welcome everybody. And I hope this will be a great session, and everybody will benefit with the information which we are going to discuss in this session. So welcome everybody.
Yes. So Manmohan ji, so I think I'd like to first understand, what actually gave you that motivation to go on with your son, and how has your journey been, across so many years? Can you briefly tell us?
So Lakshya was our first son, and we loved him unconditionally. And initial first year was very good, and we didn't find any issue with him. He was he achieved all the milestone, like crawling and walking. But after 1 year, we were waiting for his speech, and all of a sudden he got cold, and then he was on antibiotics. Then he got constipation, and then we noticed that he's lost in his own word, and he's spinning around and lining up the things, which gave us a clue that something is not normal with our son. So we took medical help, and we were suspecting that something will be weird in the outcome of the results. And the day we got his assessment that he is on autism spectrum, that was very bad day. It broke us completely, and it took 7 days to recover from that phase. But after 7 days, we realized that whatever it is, he is our first son, and the love was already there. So the love with that kid helped us to recover, and then we started looking for all the information which is spread on the net, and there was very negative things were there, that it cannot be cured, or there is no treatment for autism. But there were some article I found where I got a ray of hope, and I met a few person who told me that there is nothing to be worried. These kids can recover, and they have their kids which had this phase, and they are doing pretty good now. So with by meeting such people, I got a confidence that this is something which we can recover or reverse. So that gave me the actual hope. So that's why we didn't went we followed everything, the mainstream treatment, and we tried the alternative things also. So it was not like that if somebody is saying go only that way, and we tried all the ways actually. And in the end we found that other ways are more efficient and effective than the actual way which is suggested by many people.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so we are basically not trying to, kind of sideline any system of healing, but we
Right.
also definitely want to work the integrative way, where we want to bring the best of whatever we know. Okay. So there may be, somebody else who has really researched, done something else. We are open to everything. I think that definitely is the mentality in which a parent has to be, because that will help. And whoever is a healthcare provider also should come from that background and that mentality, and that is very helpful, because they should never tell you, as just based on my experience, that no, this X is not good, only Y is good, or Z is not good, only Y is good. This is not going to help anyone. So keeping our minds more open will definitely help. So yeah, I think, as you said, first of all, acceptance. What I see with parents is, as you said, the day you learned about the diagnosis, I think you took 7 days to recover. So I'm sure you would have probably recovered more quickly than your wife, or I don't know, maybe your wife recovered more quickly than you. But I many times see that parents are not able to recover completely even after a few years. So, don't you think that this is going to affect the progress of the child?
The thing is, if something is not going wrong, then we should not think that we should not blame like why it happened with us, or why it happened specifically to me. Instead we should fight with that actually. So instead of blaming, if we are doing something or fighting with something, that will give you fruitful result, instead of simply blaming ourselves or destiny or God.
Right. So, what were your initial challenges, and how did you start attending to each one of them? If you can name, a couple of challenges you saw in your child, and then say, how did you try to attend to the particular challenge?
The biggest challenge was actually the lack of information. Actually, the autism term is known to only those person who have autistic kid. So all of the sudden, if you come to know that your kid is autistic, the first thing you will feel that you don't know anything about autism. So that is why I guess this Autism Awareness Day we are celebrating in the entire world. So the information need to be spread to the normal parents also, or who are planning to have a baby. So that was the first challenge, which like we were completely blank when doctor said that your son is on autism spectrum. So the autism word itself was a very heavy word for us, and we were trying to understand what does it mean, how it going to impact our son in future, whether he will be like how he will be in future, like those things, and all the doubts were shooting in our brain and mind, and we were just worried about the future. Oh, why it happened to my son? But gradually when we start exploring, and gradually when we got the information, we come to know that okay, there are few things which we can immediately start, like therapies, speech therapies, or OT therapy. We immediately started that without any further delay. And then we come to know that there are something called rehabilitation and early intervention. That time we thank God that okay, we came to know in when Lakshya was 3.5, so we were having still time to do the start that early intervention. And the second thing was like if you are blessed with a normal kid, you will pay attention to your kid. But normally, if both of you are working, you will divert your mind to your job, your work, your other stuff. Like when Laksh was diagnosed, I was having all the subscription to Netflix and Amazon Prime. So and we were like diverting our time to television and mobiles and office work and whatever. So then we realize that that time is we cannot divert that time which is meant for the kid, and we cannot outsource kid upbringing. So this is the major problem I feel in current era, that parents are diverting the kid time to something else, and they're finding a way to get a shortcut to outsource the child upbringing to somebody else. So that we rectified. Actually we started giving him more time, and we like whatever time is meant for a baby, we gave that much time to the baby, and we paid the total attention, and it immediately it started showing us the results. So that is the point. We understood that where we were wrong and what need to be done. So we have to take all the responsibility in our hand. Like we have to bring our, this is my kid, I have to do upbringing of my kid, and I have to give time to him.
Correct.
So that is the initial challenges. We have to first change ourselves, then we have to expect our kid to be changed.
Very true. I think very apt point, because there is so much of screen time. First of all, if parents reduce the screen time, automatically children do reduce. And what I've heard, from many parents, especially in the last 2.5 years of COVID, they have, by default, the screen time has increased and of the kid. And even probably, a child with an ASD, his or her screen time has increased, which can also lead to increase in their signs and symptoms. And another another aspect which I've noticed is that the onset of ASD has also happened in some children. Rather, I would say that is not the cause; it's a trigger. It's a trigger, fair trigger, that when your screen time is more, over now we see, right? Parents are busy, like you said, both of them are working, so the small kid has to be engaged, and during COVID, nobody to help. In such a situation, they just give the mobile. That is the first thing. So the child is just very busy, happy, seeing a lot of things on the mobile, and their speech abilities, which have to probably, kind of be seen at 1+, 1.5 plus, between say 1.5 to 3, has slowed down drastically. And that can be a trigger for a speech deficit as well. So many such instances very clearly tell us that the screen time is definitely not, very appreciated, and we need to very specifically understand that getting off that is very important. And like you said, the subscription, all that, take off that, and then subscribe a lot of things for your child in terms of physical presence, because we cannot use online mechanism to teach an ASD kid. So well, apart from that, now you talk about use of homeopathy, Ayurveda, and such other medicine based or pharmacological based intervention. So when we look at this, there is always a question saying a child is on speech therapy, occupational therapy, or different other modalities, of therapies. And when we introduce holistic systems of healing to that, what exactly is the transition? So based on what I understand, yes, it is very essential that people should not go slow on speech and OT. And only if that particular, continuous sensitization of the brain continues along with any other holistic intervention, the result is going to be seen, in terms of changing the child. But many parents go very slow on speech and OT, and I find it very difficult. I tell them, but I find it very difficult to go beyond a certain limit because I cannot do a day-to-day follow-up with them, right? So I want you to very vocally, be very vocal with this aspect, especially. One, you start with speech OT. Yes, how long do you need a speech therapist or an occupational therapist intervention? And when can you probably do it yourself? And many times two reasons to do it yourself. One, maybe yes, you'll have more attachment to your child, you understand the child's requirement. Second, the financial abilities are not huge with many, because there is a sum of XXXX charged and you cannot probably afford it for years together. Okay, so an average upper middle class person is also going to find it very difficult. So I want you to highlight on this particular aspect.
Yeah, what I think, like when Lux was initially diagnosed when he was age of like 3.5, we immediately started his speech therapy and OT as well as group therapy, and we continued till 1 year. And when he became 4.5, this COVID came, so we were having no other choice to stop. So and luckily that same time we started his Ayurveda treatment as well. So with the Ayurveda, and we were working from home, so we were playing a lot with our kid, and we were giving him enough time, and he was interacting with us. We were teaching to him, and we got during that 1 hour, 1 year, we got a connection with him by playing with him. We got proper eye contact, and he was responding to the name, and he started playing with us, and his screen time was reduced in the initial first year. So when COVID came, we both were at home only, working from home. So that was the golden time actually for us, because there was no therapy at that time, and we were the therapist for our son. So we were giving him OT, we were giving him speech therapy, and like whole day he was with us, and he was watching us, we were watching him, and two-way interaction was there. So in 2 years, we saw drastic improvement in him. And now we thought to start his speech therapy, and we went for 1 more month. But now I do not feel any requirement of speech and OT. So, like if you are in small city and you are not finding any OT or speech center, then that should not be a major concern. Actually, if you are giving enough time to your kid, if you're playing with your kid 24/7, then you can ignore. And the other thing, like if you are not able to spend time with your kid, and if you're not able to teach him, or if your son is not able, if your kid is not able to connect with you, then definitely you need to go for OT and speech therapy, because we need someone who can connect with the kid, and with that connection he can teach to that kid. So if you finding difficulty in teaching your son by yourself, then OT and speech are mandatory to go. But if you are able to connect with your kid and you are able to teach him, providing him input, then it is optional. Then OT and speech are optional. And if you are in a city where these things are not available, no need to worry. You play with your kid 24/7. The things like you can watch YouTube, and you can learn how to give this kid therapies to your kid, and you can manage it properly. Like just you need time and some knowledge, and you can become your therapist of your kid by yourself, if you are in such remote location, if you're not in a metro city where these facilities are available very easily.
Right. I'm sure in some parents forum or self-help to parents forum, there will be definitely a lot of interaction on this. But parents should definitely get motivated, to do that. And I think their perspective towards the child has to change. What is the time, you think both the parents have to give? Now, mother is important in her own way, father is important in his own way. In some cases, I see only father intervening, mother is not doing much. In some cases, only mother is intervening, father is not doing much. So I see more of this combination and less of combination where both are able to give time. I don't say it has to be 50-50, but at least it can be 30-70, 60-40. But the presence of both is important, is what I definitely understand. So, what do you think about this?
So, like, if both parents can spend time with kid, that is like the best thing. But if due to some circumstances, if one parent is able to spend time with the kid, that is also sufficient. So, like, the recovery will be like in the same way. Like, if both parents are working on the kid, the recovery will be fast. If one parent is working on the kid only, then also recovery will be there. It's not like that. The problem is when both parents are not working on the kid, then there will be problem. Like, I have seen many cases where the parents are totally dependent on therapists, like taking the kid to the therapy center, bringing the kid back, and that's all. If they think that that is the only responsibility they have, then in that case, getting good results or improvement will be very hard. So it's not like one parent is active or two parents are active. If one parent is active and taking his responsibility, if he has a sense of belongingness with his kid, then in that case the kid will recover very soon.
So that's a good point, and the suggestion you also gave. And we also see many of the children with ASD having hyperactivity, right? So when we talk about ADHD in association with AHD, or hyperactivity as a separate sign with ASD, then both can happen. So when I know we deal with the treatment methodology, we have, of course, we give them some medicines, and now, of course, since I deal with Ayurveda, I use Ayurveda medication, and I would strongly suggest yoga. Yoga as a therapy, because it can work at a very good level to reduce the hyperactivity in a child. But what the difficulty parents face is one, they are not adapting yoga as one methodology to help their children evolve. But if they can help the child evolve with yoga, they're also going to see some better improvement. So say, with your own experience where Lakshya has also taken some yoga, what could be the quick tips you can give to say that how do you help the child do yoga as such? Because this yoga is not going to be like an adult instructions are going to be different, and the way we are going to teach initially and equip the parents are going to be different. So here again, the parent only has to continue teaching.
Right. So the major problem, I will tell you, doctor, like, we also had the similar thought initially that due to the material we research and we read on Google, we started to lose the confidence on our own kid, and we think that okay, he cannot do that, he will not be able to do that. But later I realized that he's picking up things very fast, and initially I was thinking that he will not be able to do yoga, but after one or two sessions he started doing that. So that was like you have to believe on your kid. We have to believe in our kids. They are capable of doing many things. Doesn't matter if they are labeled with ASD or not. So that is the main thing which all the parents have to keep in mind, that their kids are capable of doing many things. So don't blindly think that they cannot do that or they cannot do this. They can do miracles, but we have to believe. If you are not believing, then you will lose many things. But if you start believing in your kid, then they will also start doing the things which you cannot believe. So that is the learning I have got in last 3 years. So he is doing yoga properly. He is following instructions. Like earlier, when he was going into nursery in his play school, when he was 3.5 year, he was not at all following his PT teacher in the school, because there was no connect between the teacher and the kid. But the same thing when we did, after having a connect with him, after he developed his eye contact and the name response, he started following all the things. Like in OT also, he was following his OT therapist. At home also, he was doing exercise with us. And when we started yoga, he started doing yoga also. And yoga is something which is very much beneficial for these type of kid. And this is not only, like I'm saying, there are research papers published which state that yoga is very much useful in ASD kids.
Correct. Yeah, there is a fair amount of research which is available for use of yoga, for the use of some herb-based, Ayurveda herb-based medicines as well. And yeah, we go by the background of the scientific studies, and based on the experiential knowledge and the kind of knowledge which we get from, say, classical Ayurveda textbooks, there is a lot which we can offer, because depending on the case, we have to change the methodology. The medicines might look similar, sometimes it might look repetitive, but you need that because the brain takes its own time to develop as well. And the brain structure is also so that we need time to improve the networking. So, because what we see, the problem in these children is it's a neurocognitive developmental disorder, right? So everything is intact. The structure of the brain there is no problem. Okay, in certain disorders, you have a little bigger brain, smaller brain, so you have zero problems in ASD children. So first of all, parents should understand that they do not have any problem with the brain. It is only that it is not stimulated well. You need to bring in that stimulation, or you need to bring in that networking which is needed. For flow of electricity, at our homes is blocked, then you don't see the power. You don't see your bulb getting on. Similarly, the flow of electricity in the brain is also there. That is the neuronal networking. So that has to keep going, and that is what we are plugging. So apart from, say, holistic systems such as yoga, Ayurveda, we, of course, one medication doing yoga. The next important part is lifestyle. And Ayurveda, yoga, all of them talk a lot about lifestyle, because nothing can work without a disciplined lifestyle. When we say disciplined lifestyle, it doesn't mean that you wake up the child, chalo utho 5 baj gaye, 4 baj gaye. It's not like that. We don't look at that. But it has to be a streamlined basic discipline which a child has to get. Rather, any child has to get in that discipline. But in these children also, it is very important. But it is very difficult for you to get them to that discipline because they don't understand, like a normal child. But yes, if their understanding capacity builds in, they do understand well. So here, I know, as per your experience, how has Laksh lifestyle, really helped him?
So initially, we started following the daily routine timetable, and he started schooling also, online schooling. And to my surprise, he was remembering the day and class. So he was saying, today is Monday, today is my music class, today is Thursday, I have PT class. So he remembered the days with the class which he likes. Like he like music class, he like drawing class, he like PT class. So with this class, he was able to remember the days, and he was so. But I have not kept the timetable so strict. So I have told him that morning we will do study for 2 hours, and evening we will go for scooter ride like that. But it was not I was not keeping that time accurate initially. But once he came into class 1, then he was following the school timetable, which make him to read the clock also. And but what I was following strictly was his sleep time, because sleep time is totally related to our hormones. So earlier he was not sleeping on time initially when he was diagnosed, but the doctor said that you have to set his sleep cycle as per the sun. So from that day we were following it, like he's going to bed by 10 and waking up by 7. So that is what we are strictly following, because that is related to the hormones. So doctor, I have because we have less time, I would like to utilize this forum to communicate that what I felt that Ayurveda helped my son a lot. And in India, I don't think that the majority of parents are following Ayurveda to being in India. And if everybody get to know that Ayurveda is very effective in ASD, and everybody start using this, that might help a lot of kid in our country. So my question is, if you we know that Ayurveda is a century old medical stream which is helping us from centuries. Can you put some light on the recent research happened around ASD in Ayurveda.
Correct. So, like we just started about understanding lifestyle, that's where Ayurveda begins. Okay, so we talk about lifestyle, we talk about digestion, we talk about sleep. So ahara, nidra are two things, is what Ayurveda says. Ahara is food, nidra is sleep. So these are the two basic elements, especially in managing such children. When we talk about the food, we know the food preferences. We understand what kind of food is given, what should not be given, and also understand that the Agni or the digestive fire, which Ayurveda very specifically talks about, has to be maintained or balanced or kept intact. Because if your Agni is at imbalance, then you will also see the repercussion on your brain. There is a very strong concept of the brain gut axis. This is where research also comes in. We have enough of evidence which talks about the balancing the brain gut. So this has been evolved centuries or thousands of years ago, but we are talking now about brain gut axis. Sometimes we feel disconnected, but I'm very happy that scientific evidence is at least giving that confidence to people who want to understand more about this, right? And we also believe that I'm also a researcher, so obviously there is no looking back at all. So the brain gut axis is the most crucial aspect in treating the children, and one of the pointers which we also use as we keep evaluating the children and keep helping them with medicines or yoga. So likewise, when you start understanding this, that the brain function is directly related to your gut, because the gut has got certain nerve innervations which are directly connected to your brain. And if there's a disturbance, then you see the change. Like you as parents would have definitely seen, if there is constipation, you will see that there is an increase in hyperactivity. And if there is probably diarrhea, or the child has got some stomach pain, you will see some hyperactivity, or you will see sleep issues, you will see mood issues, all this. So it is very evident that because of the physiological process which is connected between these two organs, we have to stay tuned. And I would probably just have the focus here, along with, as I said, sleep, lifestyle, and the whole process is one big component. If the circle has to be full. The full circle will happen only when you have all these points put together.
Yeah, one more very important thing I would like to ask, Doctor, that there is various negativity associated with the ASD kids, like major negativity, like they have fear, they have claustrophobia type of thing when we ask them to go to bathroom for potty or like that. And they have sadness, they have anxiety, they have what we called fear and anger, sometimes anger, like kids show anger. So how Ayurveda help to manage all this negativity in the autistic kids?
So basically, of course, this comes, the problem is associated physiologically with them. So when we give them Ayurveda medicines, it can help and develop what we call as Dhi, Dhriti, and Smriti. These are the three basic components when you answer it specifically the traditional way, the Ayurveda way. So Dhi is your intellect, which is the Buddhi, okay, and the Dhriti is the assimilating knowledge. So first your intellect has to act, then you assimilate the knowledge, and then you retain. That is your memory or Smriti. So when these herbs are given, they have this ability to improve these functions. So when you have a better intellect, you know that, okay, if it is dark, there is a way I put on the light, there is light, but I can go alone, there's no problem. So you have this discriminative power which sets in. So in ASD children, there's a lack of this, and because we're using such herbs which are going to work as nootropics, as the pharmacology calls it, or those herbs which help in brain development, you will slowly start seeing that their fear, anxiety is reduced. And we definitely see this. Children are very, very anxious, and that's why they don't give an eye contact. Slowly, as the anxiety reduces, they're better, they try to help themselves.
Yeah, and like one more thing, like as like, because I know many parents who comes from small cities or like from middle class or lower middle class background, how costly is Ayurveda treatment, and is Ayurveda safe for small kids?
Correct, yeah. How costly is Ayurveda treatment? I would say Ayurveda treatment as such, medication is not expensive, and any middle class person can also afford it. And yes, at times we might use a certain herbs or components which have some sort of bhasma or anything like this, which is a nanoparticle of the gold bhasma, which is highly indicated in Ayurveda. In such times, of course, the cost might slightly escalate, but we are not talking about usage of this lifelong. So an average spend in a month can be restricted between 500 to 700 rupees. And I think when you are dealing with such a child, this much of affordability, many in India have, but our problem is prioritizing. So we see that, not only in because the child has ASD, but we also see that in adults. They don't mind going out, watch a movie. They don't mind ordering from outside. They don't mind going out to a restaurant every weekend and spend 3,000. But if they come to a treatment center, then they want all the discounts, and so what I feel is the mentality has to change. In a metropolitan city like Bangalore is what I'm giving an example. Similarly, you will have people's different choices. They might smoke, they might spend, they might take alcohol. So you just have to prioritize things. Then I think it is very much doable.
No, my question is from like the parent asked was different. Like they went to some other Ayurveda center, and on the name of Panchakarma, they were asked to pay around 2 lakh rupees. So is it like true, like like that much costly is it, or not that much?
I could not get your question, Manmohanji. I could not
Like
hear.
few parents visited some center, Ayurveda center. There they were asked to spend approx 2 lakh rupees for something in Ayurveda. So
Okay.
is it that much costly, or it is not that much
Right.
costly?
So I don't feel there has to be a quote like this, which is 1 lakh or.
Yeah. And majority of parents are
So I
struggling
basically
with
don't think that there has to be any such quote which has to be made.
right. So next thing I was asking is majority of parents are facing this problem of language development. So how Ayurveda can help those parents in language development? I'm not talking about speech, but the language actually.
Yeah, so what happens is when I'm talking about when you said amount which is 2 lakh, it doesn't definitely look anywhere correct, because first of all we are not saying it is a package. It's not a package where you say, okay, you please come, you're with me for the next 1 year, 2 years, you please pay 2 lakhs. I don't agree with any of such programs or packages. So we just have to evaluate the child. Let's do regular evaluations, and let's work on them month on month or twice in a month, and accordingly just suggest. So it is all, I think, individual based, and no comments further on this. But my personal perspective is I don't appreciate
Right.
that. Yeah. And you also had a question, basically is it safe? So that was another question you had.
Right.
When you say, is it safe? I would say it is definitely very safe. There have been a lot of toxicity, cytotoxicity studies which have happened with Ayurveda. When we talk about herbs or only, completely what we call as Kastaushadhi in Ayurveda, herb-based medicines. Okay, so this is one category. Other category is called Rasaushadhi, which is herbo-mineral, or metallic-based preparations. It doesn't mean that it has only metals or it has only minerals. It might have an element of those two to enhance the effect of the herbs. That is how the concept of Rasaushadhi came in, because herbs cannot penetrate very deep. Now you have, say, a very chronic problem, and you have deep problem, then herbs do not have the ability to penetrate. That point of time, you need a catalyst. That's how you have to understand, to see that the effect of these herbs reaches your neuronal network. And therefore, when we look at these studies, we don't find a direct correlation between any kind of toxicity levels which are seen in people. But yes, one remark I would like to make is from where you procure the medicine is very important, because finally, if the medicine is made well, what we call as standard practices for manufacturing are followed, then you do not have problems. Because see, me as an individual, I've been using it for 21, 22 years now, and where I hardly use 1% of allopathy on emergency. Okay, so my son is almost 15 years old. I've probably never used allopathy. I've given him all Swarnamas for many. Like me, there are many Ayurveda doctors, because we are in a fraternity of doctors. So we don't hear any such issues. And when people have any skepticism, we also know where to evaluate. To take them for an LFT and then do a post LFT after 2 years, 3 years. We have not found any such issues. Even with people who have had, say, mild renal impairment, and we have to use certain herbomineral issues. But when we specifically look at ASD children, I don't think parents should worry about this issue at all. So I think Ayurveda is definitely safe.
And looking at the clock, I would ask you to last one question, that majority of parents are facing issues in language development. So how Ayurveda can help in speech and language development?
So when we talk about language, it is all about vocabulary and comprehension. So your brain, it is like a funnel. Okay, so that if the top of the funnel has got 10,000 words, it will slowly penetrate, and the bottom line of the funnel will have at least 50 words. So for this top line to develop, you really need to bring in a lot of retention in the child. So now, say we take example of the most commonest known herb, Brahmi. So everybody knows. Okay, botanically it is called Bacopa manari. So what Brahmi does, it works at this level where it can help you retain this knowledge. So that is what we were also talking a few minutes before. So when you start giving herbs which can enhance this aspect of cognition and then retention, and then also keeping that remembrance in them, then it is very easy for them to reproduce. And that is how language development can get better help. It is once again like a catalyst. So if you don't do anything, then the development is going to happen in step 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, and then a year. But if you're adding interventions in between, it is going to boost. Instead of 3 months, you can see development in 1 month itself. And I'm sure many parents are seeing, and you also have your own set of experiences. So this is where I'm also very specifically talking about yoga, because it can help this. Because in the brain, when you look at a neuron has got jumps. Okay, so if you look at it, this is one and this is another. So it will move from here to here, the neuronal junction and another neuron. So this is the electrical conduction. So it is very slow. If it can be enhanced, then your language development is also going to be better. Okay, so yeah, as you said, we're also running slowly out of time. We're already 2 minutes from the closure, but we have a couple of questions. I know we have received an Excel sheet with a long list of questions from many people, but we have taken up many questions already, because I just went through the questions. But here in the chat box, I see a parent asking, a child has weak memory, hence keeps forgetting words. Also, sentences are jumbled when he tries to say something new. So I think we just answered this question, saying how can you improve this? But I think Manmohanji, from your experience, you should tell, because for whatever they hear from me, they will think look at it, the theoretical part, because they don't have an experience. Only when they feel it, they will understand, oh yes, maybe that's what doctor was trying to say. So I would request you to probably say, how did this happen with Lakshya? This was also a problem. Initially forgetting words.
So earlier, Lakshya was on moderate spectrum, and recovery was very slow. And apart from autism, he was severely like he has severe constipation also. And we were using Zerbisa, and after using Zerbisa for approx 6 months, one day we saw blood actually. So that shocked us, and I started researching more about, because allopathy was not helping us, him and us in his constipation. And then I got to know that Ayurveda has some solution for constipation. And so that's why I went and met Dr. Vasuda, and I told him that he's on autism, and we came here for constipation. And luckily, Vasuda ma'am has given us medicine for both constipation and autism as well. And to our surprise, we found that in 10 days, his 6-month-old constipation problem has been resolved. And that gave me belief in the other treatment which she has prescribed for the autism. And within 1 or 2 months, we started seeing change in Lakshya. And now the situation is that from moderate, he has came to next to the normal. So Ayurveda has such a healing power which we cannot ignore, and we should not ignore. And we should keep Ayurveda. In case of autism, we should keep Ayurveda on first number of treatment. Along others should be secondary, as per my personal opinion. Now he has like he can do everything. He is doing better than neurotypical normal kids actually now.
Yeah,
So
very
that
good
is
to hear that. Yeah. I think a couple of videos you should share sometime so that people also understand, that how that can
And
change.
doctor, it is not only about Lakshya. I have a WhatsApp group, and where I'm guiding other parents, and I can see many other kids also getting benefited with the Ayurveda, and the parents are very happy now. So
Yeah.
on this Autism Awareness Day, I would request all the parents who have autistic kid to please try Ayurveda. It will change your life for sure.
Okay. So I think we are also off time now, and there are a couple of more questions in the chat box, but we have taken up all of them and in our conversations. So, but one interesting question is any medicine to develop healthy food habit? And we would like to end with this because it's obviously the answer is no. There is no medicine to develop healthy food habit. Only develop healthy food habit, that itself is a medicine. So that's what we were talking about, lifestyle, which includes diet and all your norms of food. And yes, whenever you meet any Ayurveda doctor, they will definitely give you a lot of dietary suggestions, because Ayurveda is not over, or Ayurveda treatment is never complete without the concept of pathya, which is right eating. And that is not about controlling food, but it is about suggesting that food which is good for you or good for the health problem you're dealing with. Okay, with this note, I think we will close today's
I
session.
would like to add one more thing, that please don't follow any CFG or any diet without doctor consultation. Only follow diet if your kid is specifically allergic to any type of food. Else, please give all type of food. All type of foods are very essential for overall development growth of your kid.
Right, yeah, good point, yes. So I think with this, we can close the session for today. We are still open for any of your questions. You can write to us at info@vivekanandahealth.com or reach out to our customer care, to our number as well, which is 9591 And of course, anywhere you can get connected to Manmohanji also to understand more from the parent perspective. So once again, this Autism Day, we wish all parents, and we wish give them all a lot of best wishes to see that they have all the energy to work with their children. And those of you who have been successfully working and who are feeling proud that yes, my son or my daughter is doing well, we really appreciate your whole journey. Okay, so with this, wishing you all a good day ahead. Once again, happy Yugadi and Gudi Padwa. Thank you, Mr. Manmohan Singh, for joining us and sharing all the valuable information as a parent. And I think that was much needed. Thank you once again, and thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.